Supplies.
When I have a general and I have to sign for a general because we have beautiful paper, the gorgeous paper, I said throw a little more gold on it, they deserve it. I want to use the big, beautiful, firm paper.
What? What is, and why is the paper like this? What is, I don't understand, what paper goes like this? Can we see, I'm sorry, what is this? Can we see the big, beautiful, firm paper he's talking about? There you go.
In today's political circus, Donald Trump, the sitting U.S. president, transforms leadership into a spectacle of chaos, ego, and relentless self-promotion. At his side, Caroline Leavitt fuels the drama with bold declarations and public theatrics. Then comes Stephen Colbert, the comedic surgeon, dissecting their contradictions with razor-sharp wit. Each headline becomes his stage, every absurdity his punchline, as he masterfully turns political showmanship into unforgettable satire.
Keep in mind, my friends, Republicans control all three branches of government, including both chambers of Congress, but somehow, none of this is their fault.
The Democrats should know that they put the White House and the president in this position. And if they don't want further harm on their constituents back home, then they need to reopen the government. It's very simple. Pass the clean continuing resolution, and all of this goes away.
Wow, that is weirdly threatening. Can we see that from another angle?
Pass the clean continuing resolution.
Trump's latest move, a whirlwind of contradictions and theatrics, perfectly captures his style of governance. Each announcement arrives with the flair of a magician revealing the trick before finishing it, leaving allies and critics alike guessing its meaning. Colbert's satire cuts through the spectacle, exposing the gap between promise and reality, boldness without coherence, bravado without follow-through. Leavitt's equally dramatic outbursts only heighten the chaos, amplifying media frenzy and deepening public confusion.
Trump then turned his attention to modernizing the Navy.
Those ships, some people would say, no, that's old technology. I don't know. I don't think it's old technology when you look at those guns, but it's something we're actually considering, the concept of battleship.
Battleship. We're also considering the concept of Twister, the notion of hungry, hungry hippo, and of course, Yahtzee, or, in my case...
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more. Take, for instance, Trump's recent wave of legislative announcements, laws and executive orders unveiled with dramatic flair and grandiose rhetoric. Yet, the fine print often disappears beneath layers of improvisation. Promises of historic reform and bold innovation repeatedly clash with bureaucratic realities and logistical limits. Colbert turns these collisions into comedy gold, exposing the chasm between performance and progress through sharp satire. Meanwhile, Leavitt's fiery statements only heighten the spectacle, adding fuel to the chaos and making this political theater both mesmerizing and impossible to ignore.
There's a process that you follow. When a shutdown starts, people are what's called furloughed, okay? They don't come to work, they're not paid, but when the shutdown's over, everyone gets their job back, often with back pay. But now, Trump is threatening to use this excuse to fire a whole bunch more people from the federal government, posting, Republicans must use this opportunity of Democrat forced closure to...
On the international stage, Trump's behavior swings between flashes of brilliance and waves of chaos. His diplomatic statements, trade deals, and summit appearances brim with personality-driven showmanship, leaving world leaders unsure whether they're engaging in policy or witnessing live improv. Colbert's sharp commentary reframes these moments, exposing the irony of gestures meant to project strength but instead creating confusion. Meanwhile, Leavitt's intense declarations blurred the line between policy and performance, amplifying the spectacle. Together, their actions turned diplomacy into a global stage drama, unpredictable, theatrical, and endlessly ripe for Colbert's satirical lens.
Trump also went very dark at times, warning the military brass about America's #1 enemy, Americans.
Last month, I signed an executive order to provide training for quick reaction force that can help quell civil disturbances. So this is going to be a big thing for the people in this room because it's the enemy from within, and we have to handle it before it gets out of control.
When crises arise, Trump and Leavitt's responses often merge theatrics with improvisation, creating moments that are equal parts cringeworthy and darkly amusing. Emergency briefings, press events, and public statements mix half-formed facts with performative confidence, leaving the nation uncertain about the truth but captivated by the drama. Colbert mines these moments for razor-sharp humor, exposing the contradictions and chaos between intent and execution. Meanwhile, Leavitt's passionate declarations and headline-ready soundbites amplify the tension, turning every crisis into a gripping, if bewildering, political performance.
But ever since Trump got back into office, he's been waging a campaign of vengeance against his enemies, who he believes have been trying to take him down. Now he's focused all of his rage on the one foe who refused to take him up, and that is the UN escalator. So right now, yep. Let's take a fond look back at what happened on Tuesday. Trump walks up to the escalator, steps on, and no. That sudden stop was a close call, especially for the First Lady, because he almost touched her.
Domestically, Trump's administration remains a study in unpredictability. Policy announcements, whether economic reforms, social initiatives, or regulatory overhauls, are rolled out with bold promises and theatrical flair. Yet, the execution often collapses under confusion, contradictions, and shifting narratives. The result is a recurring cycle of hype, disappointment, and media chaos. Colbert's satire thrives on this volatility, turning moments of mismanagement into sharp, intelligent humor that exposes the gap between ambition and action. Meanwhile, Leavitt's fiery rhetoric and over-the-top declarations heighten the spectacle, reinforcing the sense that governance has become performance art. Together, Trump and Leavitt create a feedback loop of exaggeration and self-congratulation, where mistakes morph into headlines and contradictions fuel endless commentary. Colbert dissects their exchanges with surgical wit, transforming press releases and social media posts into case studies of political theater. What should be governance becomes entertainment, a show of inflated promises, blurred facts, and unintentional comedy.
Ted Cruz also weighed in to say how fun he thinks it is that only Democrats would be affected.
President Trump is going to use that as an opportunity not to tell people you're furloughed for a few days, but instead to send pink slips and to get rid of left-wing bureaucrats who are imposing left-wing priorities that are contrary to President Trump's priorities.
Yes, we need to get rid of people who are contrary to President Trump's priorities. And what are those priorities again, Ted?
Let's stop attacking pedophiles.
Media interactions continue to expose the administration's flair for spectacle and improvisation. Press conferences, interviews, and official statements often mix assertiveness with deliberate ambiguity, creating headlines that magnify both the message and the mistakes. Colbert's commentary slices through this haze, revealing the contradictions and absurdities beneath the polished surface. What follows is a relentless cycle: announcements spark debate, contradictions invite ridicule, and satire thrives in the chaos. Trump's rallies and public appearances encapsulate this dynamic perfectly, carefully staged yet perpetually teetering on the edge of disorder. Every speech is a performance, dramatic pauses, exaggerated gestures, and narrative pivots designed to command attention. Yet, amid the grandeur, spontaneous remarks, timing blunders, and technical mishaps unravel the illusion of control. Colbert masterfully turns these moments into comedic dissection, emphasizing the gap between intent and reality. Meanwhile, Leavitt's parallel commentary or social media reactions intensify the spectacle, blending ego, miscommunication, and improvisation into a running political farce that borders on tragicomedy.
Just 2 days ago, right? That was 2 days ago. Nobody was hurt. They walked up the stopped escalator, sometimes known as stairs, but Trump just will not let it go. Last night, he went on social media and wrote all this about it. Skip recipe, skip to recipe. I don't want to know about your grandmother's childhood in Moldova. Just how do you make borscht? I don't want to know.
Trump's legislative strategy continues to function as a spectacle of ambition unanchored by consistency. Each proposal arrives with maximum fanfare, bold declarations, sweeping promises, and triumphant press conferences, yet the finer details remain vague or ever-shifting. Priorities change overnight, deadlines dissolve like morning mist, and policy direction often depends more on impulse than planning. Colbert capitalizes on this chaos, transforming political indecision into sharp comedy, exposing how governance morphs into theater rather than substance. Leavitt's assertive statements, crafted to project confidence or reclaim narrative control, add a second act to the drama, amplifying contradictions and fueling media scrutiny. Economic policy follows a similar rhythm. Trump celebrates perceived victories with grandiose claims, while the underlying data tells a more nuanced tale. Employment reports, inflation trends, and trade balances are often reframed or selectively emphasized, crafting a narrative of triumph that conceals complexity. Colbert exposes this selective storytelling, mocking the gap between rhetoric and reality, while Leavitt's impassioned affirmations reinforce the illusion of control. On the international stage, Trump's diplomacy blends showmanship with unpredictability. Each handshake, press release, or late-night tweet becomes an event in itself, agreements forged, revised, or undone in real time, leaving allies, rivals, and observers struggling to keep pace.
The Trump administration is using this shutdown really to punish anyone who didn't vote for him. They're cutting funding for federal projects in 16 states, all of which voted for Kamala Harris in last year's election. For instance, here in New York, they froze $18 billion in federal funds for New York City's mass transit system. You think you can scare New Yorkers? Really?
Colbert's satire thrives on Trump's ever-shifting political landscape, turning diplomatic blunders and global missteps into sharp, accessible humor. Leavitt's vocal enthusiasm and defensive posturing add fuel to the fire, ensuring that every international exchange becomes a public spectacle, dissected, debated, and delightfully lampooned. National crises, from natural disasters to public health emergencies, become stages for theatrical improvisation. Trump's confident rhetoric, paired with reactive decision-making, produces moments that are simultaneously unsettling and unintentionally comedic. Colbert captures these contradictions with surgical wit, revealing the chasm between proclaimed mastery and actual performance. Leavitt's emphatic declarations and social media presence amplify the tension, transforming each event into a rolling display of drama and overstatement. Her flair for dramatics adds an unpredictable rhythm, turning even serious policy responses into moments ripe for parody. The administration's media relations offer equally rich comedic material. Press conferences and interviews blend assertiveness with vagueness, generating a continuous loop of spectacle and confusion, a perfect storm for Colbert's incisive satire to thrive and expose the absurd theater of modern politics.
He described his harrowing experience the day the escalator died. The escalator going up to the main speaking floor came to a screeching halt. It stopped on a dime. It's amazing that Melania and I didn't fall forward onto the sharp edges of those steel steps face first. Now, usually when a drama queen throws that much of a hissy, at least Andy Cohen interviews them after.
Colbert's commentary slices cleanly through the noise, exposing contradictions, exaggerations, and lapses in logic that define Trump's public persona. Leavitt's emphatic reinforcement of talking points adds texture and tension, heightening the sense that modern politics has evolved into pure performance. Trump's rallies and public appearances remain the centerpiece of his spectacle-driven leadership, meticulously choreographed yet perpetually vulnerable to unscripted chaos. Speeches brim with dramatic pauses, grand gestures, and impromptu remarks that often invite unintended humor. Colbert mines these moments for sharp satire, capturing the gulf between intent and delivery. Meanwhile, Leavitt's energetic participation, whether on stage or via social media, magnifies the theatricality, ensuring each event resonates far beyond its setting. Controversial statements, impulsive reversals, and rhetorical pivots fuel relentless media cycles, creating a feedback loop of fascination and farce. Colbert dissects every contradiction with wit and precision, revealing not just the absurdity but the underlying consequences of such erratic communication. Leavitt's amplified rhetoric compounds the spectacle, turning every misstep into an unending comedy of political self-parody.
Well, I tell you, folks, I definitely did not call this one, but evidently The Late Show has outlasted the United States federal government. We're still open, and they done shut down. But you know what? Maybe this is a good thing. You know, the government hasn't been working that great lately. Who knows why? Maybe somebody got the government wet, you know? Let's unplug it for a while, plug it back in, see if it reboots. If that doesn't work, maybe toss it in a bag of rice. Leave it there for a couple hours. Doesn't work, we'll just throw it away and buy a new one.
Courts and legal commentators often find themselves drawn into a political drama that fuses procedural importance with the spectacle of performative politics. Trump's legal maneuvers, from judicial nominations to courtroom controversies, blur the line between governance and showmanship. Colbert's satire thrives on this tension, dissecting every contradiction with sharp wit and precision. He exposes how ego and ambition often overshadow institutional order, turning moments of genuine legal significance into absurd displays of political theater. Leavitt's emphatic endorsements or clarifications tend to amplify the chaos rather than clarify it. Her vocal defenses and headline-worthy remarks elevate the drama, transforming legal discussions into a layered narrative where fact, spin, and performance intermingle. This constant interplay between authority and improvisation gives Colbert a steady stream of material to mine humor that not only entertains but also reflects the broader irony of modern governance. Policy communication under this administration remains less about coherence and more about spectacle. Statements arrive with dramatic flair but often contradict earlier positions, creating confusion both within government and among the public. Colbert exploits these inconsistencies, turning miscommunication into a comedic art form. Leavitt's assertive reinforcement of official talking points adds another layer of irony, ensuring every contradiction resonates louder and longer in the media landscape. Public engagements, rallies, town halls, and ceremonial appearances continue to showcase the administration's unique fusion of strategy and showmanship. Each event is carefully staged for maximum visibility and emotional impact. Yet, the unpredictability of live performance introduces human error, off-script remarks, and awkward improvisation that frequently undermine the intended message. Colbert captures these moments with surgical precision, revealing how attempts to project control often spiral into chaos. The result is a political theater where authority, absurdity, and entertainment merge and satire becomes the only honest narrator.
The White House has already demanded the UN find whoever was responsible for this escalator escapade. And in his post, Trump went further saying, the people that did it should be arrested. Yes, it's a police matter now, which brings us to another installment of our hit new CBS procedural, Escalator Investigator.
Colbert's observations expose the widening gap between careful planning and chaotic execution, while Leavitt's energetic commentary heightens the spectacle, turning every appearance into a layered performance ripe for satire. The audience becomes both spectator and analyst, witnessing moments that oscillate between impressive ambition, bewildering inconsistency, and unintentional comedy. Trump's use of social media exemplifies the performative nature of his leadership. His rapid-fire tweets, often spontaneous, emotional, and occasionally self-contradictory, dominate the news cycle and shape global conversations within minutes. What once served as a communication tool has become an ongoing digital stage. Colbert navigates this terrain with expert precision, transforming the chaos of constant updates into incisive humor that reveals the tension between image and reality. Every tweet becomes an act of improvisation, every deletion or correction a punchline waiting to happen. Announcements of major policies, trade deals, tariffs, or regulatory rollbacks often arrive via tweet before they are finalized, setting off waves of confusion among aides, analysts, and world leaders alike. Colbert dissects these moments with surgical wit, translating the tangled web of political reversals into digestible, intelligent comedy. He exposes how bold proclamations, intended to signal control and authority, often unravel under the weight of hasty improvisation. Leavitt's commentary typically enters as an echo chamber of enthusiasm, celebrating victories, reframing controversies, and defending contradictions with unwavering intensity. Her public statements, while meant to reinforce the administration's narrative, frequently amplify its inconsistencies instead, fueling the ongoing media frenzy. The result is a cycle of triumph and turmoil, where messaging and miscommunication blur into one. Colbert masterfully captures this absurd rhythm, revealing how a leadership style driven by instant reaction and digital performance transforms governance into a continuous loop of drama, irony, and laughter. In his satire, the spectacle is not mocked, it's diagnosed.